Hey everyone, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to explain your weekly analyses assignments. Alright, first off, let's start off here in Blackboard. You go to the Assignments tab, you go to the Weekly Analyses folder, and here they are. All three weekly analyses are right here. The first is due Monday, January 31st. The second is due Monday, February 28th. And the third is due Thursday, March 31st. So let me talk about what this assignment is and is not. So all I want you to do in at least 2 full pages, double-spaced, 12-point times in Roman, is talk about something that we talked about in class. Now, a week's worth of material is just a recommended amount. If you found some particular topic interesting, talk about that for 2 pages. That's fine. But here's what I don't want you to do. Don't do a research paper. I don't want you to take something that we talked about and go, okay, I'm going to look up everything I can about that topic and info dump it in a paper. I don't want that. I want you to be talking about something in your own words, with a little bit of your analysis and reflection in there. We talked about this. Here's what I thought about it. Now, just make sure when you're saying something, back up what you're saying. If you're like, I thought this was awesome. Why? I thought this was stupid. Why? Don't just take it as a given that it is one thing or not. Back up your position. And this goes back to something in the syllabus where make sure you can justify a sound position on a topic. If you're going to say something, you can be assertive in the sense of saying something with confidence, but make sure you back it up when you do that. Provide evidence. Support your position, whatever it may be. I really want to see your take on whatever something is. I don't want to see you just copy something from some website, which sometimes semester after semester people do. They'll just take stuff from Wikipedia or wherever and paste it into a paper. I don't want that. I want what's your take on this. And it's not that you're not graded on whether I agree or disagree with your take. It's, did you talk about something in your own words, and if you had a position on it, did you back it up? That's it. Here's what I discussed. Here's what I think about it. Do that in 2 pages. You're good. Now let's talk about some of the documents that you have at your disposal. So you notice if you go to the weekly analyses, under the first one, you have these 4 documents that are here to help you out. And these are here to help you out actually on all 3 assignments. I just didn't need to post them 3 times. You can use these for all 3 of your assignments. What are they? So what we've got, I'll start with the bottom here. You got the paper formatting exemplar. What this is going to show you exactly what the format should look like. So, 12-point Times Roman, double-spaced. What does that look like? There it is. So there shouldn't be any mystery as to what it should look like. Also, this document gives some advice on some writing aspects and some stylistic and annotation aspects that I'll go into in a little bit. But open that and that will give you some advice on what to do. And then also I have these 3 examples of submitted weekly analyses where the student's name has been redacted, and I've used these with permission. And we have 3 examples. One that was great, one that was okay, and one that was terrible. And all these are in Microsoft Word, so all you gotta do is click on them and it will download it, and you open it up in either the desktop version of Microsoft Word or the online version of Microsoft Word. Let's start with the formatting exemplar. So when you download it, it looks like this. It gives you an example of what a title page should look like. Notice there's no page number on the title page, but the first actual page says page 1, so I'll just say that as a bit of advice. Sometimes people put this as page 2 or put like a page 1 here or a page 0 here. All these are minor things, but I want to go ahead and point that out. So this is really here to show you here's what it should look like. Title page, just put whatever your topic is here. Okay, and you don't need to say cover page for manual, Chicago manual style. That's just here to tell you what this is doing. And then once you get into it, so if we come here, and keep in mind that like this says a different class name, you're in Philosophy 110, Introduction to Ethics. Notice we get right here into the thick of it. A couple things I want to point out. One, here's how page 1 looks. Notice the last name and page number, top right header on every page. Replication of the title here, and then get right into it. Like, don't put a lot of people do this thing where they put like a bunch of space in here like this and start like right here. No. Don't do that. Start right here. And what you'll see throughout here is throughout this document, there are all these comments I have on the right side. And if for some reason it doesn't show up, go to the review tab in Word and hit view comments if you're not seeing them. And this gives you like bits of advice on what to do. So this says like, here's how to do this heading. It says some stuff on make sure you avoid doing this kind of thing in your writing. So all these examples of what to do and what not to do in your writing. Some of the things are stylistic, again, about where do I put a period in quotation marks? How do I use quotation marks? What do I use if I use a big quotation? And for the most part, you shouldn't be putting big, thick quotations in your paper anyway. But all the kinds of little bits of advice on how do I cite something if you need to cite something. Again, you don't need any outside sources for this assignment whatsoever. This assignment is really about you telling me stuff in your own words. But if you end up quoting something, alluding to something, or paraphrasing something, you got to cite it. Otherwise, that ends up being plagiarism. So make sure if you use something outside that you cite it. And the instructions for how to do that are in here in this document too. With using the outside sources, this shows you how to make the footnotes and how to also make a works cited page. Again, this one, you'll notice this looks big here. This is just because here's an example of a bunch of ways of how to cite different things. That's the point. You don't need a single citation for this paper. Like, you don't need to get any outside sources. But if you use one for some reason, make sure your bases are covered. So let me be clear. You should cite something as a source when you do one of three things. One, you quote it, like that you use the exact words in there. Okay, it needs a citation. Two, you paraphrase it. That is, you kind of say in your own words what something else says, but you're getting it directly from there still needs a citation, even if you're paraphrasing. And then also, if you allude to it, even if you're referencing something in passing and you actually don't quote it or paraphrase it, that needs a citation as well because you're still referencing it. Okay, so those are the three times it requires citation. If you quote, paraphrase, or allude without providing a citation or a reference, that's plagiarism. So make sure you don't do it. And that's not true just for this class. That's true across the board, period, in all of academia. If you're doing one of those three things, make sure you cite your sources. And so with plagiarism, it's better safe than sorry. If you're like, should I cite this? Err on the side of caution. Okay, even if you end up having too many citations in something, I'd rather that than something's not cited and you end up getting a 0 for plagiarism. Don't do that. All right, now let's talk about the so-called good weekly analysis example that you have up on Blackboard. So let's look at what we got here. We got a cover page that looks well put together. It's got last name and page number in the top right header, not in the body of the paper. This is divided into paragraphs. Okay, it's at least 2 full pages. That's your minimum there. All right, that's a good frame of reference. Look, it didn't just make it to page 2. It got all the way up to the end of page 2. That's what you want. That's the threshold you want to get through. Not to here to this point. Like, oh, I made it 1.5 pages. No. I did 1 3/4 pages. No. 2 complete pages. That's the minimum for the assignment. At the same time, don't write 8 pages either. Just 2 full complete pages. You do that, you write about something that we talked about in class in a minimum of 2 pages, it's really difficult to screw up this assignment. And notice here on this one, there's no footnotes. There's no works cited page because this person didn't use any outside references. Still good. And this one's fine. It made an A. It's not perfect either. It's got some issues in here where you'll notice the blue line comes up with some grammar things. Sometimes there are a couple of, like this, there's a period here outside of quotation marks. The period should be inside the quotation marks. There's a couple of things in here that aren't perfect places where there should be maybe a comma after therefore. Still good. Okay, and for a first outing, as long as you get it in, even if there are errors in it, you get it in and you do what the assignment says on a weekly analysis 1, you're good. I will give you a lot of feedback on here's things that you shouldn't do. So on your subsequent analyses, make sure the things that I comment on, avoid those in future submissions. All right, let's take a look at the next one. This is the so-called bad one. This thing has some good things going for it, but then some problems. So if I were to give this a grade right now, looking at it, it's at least trying, but it's still not up to par. So probably we're talking high F, low D, probably high F, like in the 50s. Now listen, a 50 is still better than a 0. So if on your first analysis you turn something like this in, this is still better than not doing anything at all. Now on a third analysis, like the last one of the semester, this one would be a low F, because at that point you should know better. But let me say what this has going for it that at least warrant some kind of accolades. It's got that last name and page number in the top header. It's got a heading. It looks like it's at least trying to talk about some of the course material. What's the problem? Well, despite being put into paragraphs, which is another good thing going for it, it's not even a page. Okay, if it were this caliber, but maybe made it to the page and a half mark, we're talking maybe upper D, lower C at that point. Okay, because at least here the problem is, for a 2-page paper, we're not even at the 50% mark of the work that needs to be done. So that's the issue. Really here, the issue here is length. I could tell this person was trying, didn't quite meet the mark in terms of the substance. So here the issue is, despite these mistakes, if this person actually had done 2 pages, had made it to the 2-page mark, I think they would have made the grade for this assignment. For weekly analysis 1. You did your work, you talked about something that we talked about in class in 2 pages. Yeah, there were spelling errors, yeah, there were grammar errors, yeah, there were those kind of problems, but you did the assignment. Here, this is not completed. And so, frankly, for really doing less than half the work, I think giving half the grade is generous. Again, here the problem is length. Make sure you get at least those 2 pages in. Any less than that, you're just scraping points away from yourself. All right, this is the terrible one. Now, this one, you might look at it and think, next to the bad one, hey, this looks about the same length. Honestly, I can tell that this person's not even trying. Why do I say that? Well, because despite looking like a good amount of substance, none of the formatting here is correct. None of it. There's no last name and page number in the header. This is the wrong font. This is the wrong margins. It's all center justified. There are no citations whatsoever. Not that there need to be, but it's very obvious that this student copied and pasted something from a website without attribution. Okay, that is very clear when someone's doing something like that. So they took this from a website and just dumped it in. But then to kind of hide the fact they were doing that, this is a thing that people do sometimes, to make it look like they're not plagiarizing something, they'll change every couple of words. They'll go to a thesaurus and try to use some synonym for some word so it looks like they're not copying and pasting something. It's very obvious when that's being done. So, or then occasionally misspell something so it doesn't look like it's being plagiarized, but it is. So for this person, if I couldn't tell exactly where they're getting it from, like this just looks sketchy, I'm going to give it a low F. So this would be like a 20. If I could find definitively this person stole this from this website, is getting a 0 for provable plagiarism. If I can show you stole this from here, you lied to me about this being your work, and you used someone else's work without attribution, that's 0. But if this is just sloppily put together, so this one is terrible for that reason. At least, you know what? It did get double spaced. It did do that right. Nothing else is right about this one. So how do you turn it in? Well, let's take weekly analysis 1. If you click on that, see here it says due date and all this stuff. And here's what you do. After you complete making the document as a Microsoft Word document, you will go here to Browse Local Files. You'll attach your document, and then you'll come down here and click this Submit button, and that will turn it in. And that's true for all 3 of these. All right, so that concludes it for this instructional video on the weekly analyses. If you have any further questions, email me at burrist@atc.edu. Good luck with you on this assignment.